Jake Martinez rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the computer screen again. The numbers still made no sense. He had been working at the Deep Space Monitoring Station for 15 years, and he had never seen readings like this before. "Lisa, you need to see this." He called across the control room. Dr. Lisa Thompson walked over from her desk, carrying a cup of coffee that had gone cold hours ago. She was the best scientist they had, and if anyone could explain what Jake was seeing, it would be her. "What is it this time?" "Another false reading from the Outer Rim telescopes?" she asked, settling into the chair next to him. Jake pointed at the screen. "Look at Sector 779. The telescopes are picking up nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing." Lisa frowned and pulled up the data on her own screen. Her coffee cup slipped from her hand and crashed to the floor, but she didn't notice. The readings were impossible. In a region of space that should have contained at least a dozen star systems, there was complete emptiness. "Run the diagnostic again," she whispered. Jake had already run it 6 times, but he did it again anyway. The result was the same. In front of them, displayed on multiple screens and confirmed by 3 different telescope arrays, was a perfect sphere of empty space. No stars, no planets, no cosmic dust, no radiation, nothing at all. "How big is it?" Lisa asked, her voice shaking slightly. Jake checked the measurements. 50 light years across. Maybe more. The edges are so clean, it's like someone drew a line in space and erased everything inside. Lisa stood up and walked to the main viewing screen. She had studied space for 23 years. She had seen black holes that bent light around them, nebulae that stretched for hundreds of light years, and stellar formations that defied easy explanation. But she had never seen anything like this. "Call Commander Brooks at Earth Central," she said. "Tell her we need an emergency meeting with the Galactic Council." 3 days later, the meeting room at Earth Central was packed. Representatives from 12 different alien species sat around a circular table, their various forms of communication creating a buzz of clicks, whistles, and electronic sounds. The translation devices worked overtime to convert everything into human language. Commander Helen Brooks, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, stood at the center of the room. She was a small woman, but her voice carried authority that made even the largest alien delegates listen. "The data is clear," she said, gesturing to the holographic display floating above the table. "Our deep space monitoring has detected a region of complete emptiness. We're calling it the blank space." Elder Zixthara of the Centauri Alliance raised one of her 4 arms. The tall, blue-skinned alien was the oldest member of the council, and her species had been exploring space for over 3,000 years. "Know of this region," she said, her voice creating harmonic overtones that the translators struggled with. "Our people discovered it 400 years ago. We sent a research vessel to investigate. It never returned." A ripple of concerned sounds went around the room. The Veltar delegate, a crystalline being that communicated through color changes, flashed urgent red patterns across its surface. "The Veltar also attempted to study this anomaly," the translator announced. 237 years ago, our exploration ship entered the void and was never seen again. All communication ceased the moment they crossed the boundary. Commander Brooks felt a chill run down her spine. How many species have tried to explore it? Elder Zixthara consulted a data pad that looked too small for her massive hands. 5 species in total: Centauri, Veltar, and 3 others. 15 ships, 212 crew members. None ever returned. We have declared the region a quarantine zone. No vessel is permitted to approach within 10 light years of its boundary. The room fell silent, except for the quiet hum of the life support systems. The holographic display continued to rotate slowly, showing the perfect sphere of nothingness that hung in space like a wound in reality. What do your scientists think it is? Commander Brooks asked the Corvani delegate, a being that looked like a walking tree with too many eyes, spoke through its translator. Our best theories suggest it is a region where space-time itself has been removed. Perhaps a weapon from an ancient war, or a natural phenomenon beyond our understanding. What matters is that it kills everything that enters it. Dr. Lisa Thompson, who had been listening quietly from the back of the room, stepped forward. With respect, Elder Zixthara, we don't know that it kills. We only know that ships don't return. Elder Zixthara's large black eyes focused on the human scientist. Dr. Thompson, is it not? Your species has been part of the galactic community for less than 200 years. You have much to learn about the dangers that exist in deep space. Perhaps, Lisa replied calmly. But we also have a different perspective. Human space exploration has always been built on the idea that the unknown should be investigated, not avoided. The Corvani delegate's many eyes blinked in what might have been surprise or disapproval. Your species has a reputation for dangerous curiosity. This is why many of us were reluctant to accept humans into the council. Commander Brooks stepped forward before the discussion could become an argument. We're not here to debate human nature. We're here because this phenomenon poses a potential threat to all our species. We need to understand what it is. Elder Zixthara stood, her full height making her tower over the humans in the room. The Centauri Alliance has made its position clear. The blank space is forbidden. Any attempt to explore it will be considered a violation of galactic law. And if we refuse to accept that restriction, Commander Brooks asked quietly. The alien elder's expression was unreadable, but her tone was clear. Then humanity will be exploring it alone. No other species will risk their people on such a mission. After the meeting ended and the alien delegates had left, Commander Brooks sat alone with Dr. Thompson and Jake Martinez. The holographic display still showed the mysterious empty region, rotating slowly in the dim light of the conference room. What do you think, Lisa? Brooks asked. Is it worth the risk? Lisa stared at the display for a long moment. Helen, in all my years studying space, I've learned one thing. The universe doesn't create perfect spheres of nothing by accident. Whatever made that void, it was made for a reason. And I think we need to find out what that reason is. Jake leaned back in his chair. The alien species have been exploring space a lot longer than we have. If they think it's too dangerous, maybe we should listen. Or maybe, Lisa said softly, they just don't have what it takes to find out the truth. Commander Brooks looked at the empty sphere one more time, then made her decision. I'll contact Captain Blake. If anyone can handle this mission, it's him and his crew. Captain Ryan Blake stood on the bridge of the UES frontier, watching the stars ahead grow dimmer as they approached the edge of the blank space. His crew of 37 had been quiet for the past hour, each person lost in their own thoughts. About what lay ahead, distance to the boundary? He asked. Navigator Pete Anderson checked his instruments. 2 hours at current speed, Captain. All systems are running normal. Ryan nodded, but felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. 3 weeks ago, he had volunteered for this mission, despite knowing that no ship had ever returned from the void. His crew had volunteered too, but that didn't make the decision any easier. Kate, how are the engines? He called to the back of the bridge. Engineer Kate Sullivan looked up from her control panel. Running perfect, Captain. All backup systems are ready. If something goes wrong, we'll have plenty of power to get out fast. Dr. Amy Collins, the ship's scientist, was staring at her screens with a worried expression. Captain, I'm still not reading anything ahead of us. No matter how sensitive I make the sensors, there's nothing there. It's like space just ends. Ryan walked over to her station. Amy was young for a senior scientist, but she was the best they had. If she was worried, he needed to pay attention. What should we be seeing? He asked. Cosmic background radiation, at minimum. Every part of space has it. Even black holes give off some kind of energy signature. But ahead of us, there's absolutely nothing. The readings are so clean, it's like the universe forgot to put anything there. Communications Officer Sam Rodriguez turned from his station. Captain, I'm losing contact with Earth. The signal is getting weaker as we get closer to the boundary. Ryan felt his stomach tighten. They had expected this, but it was still unsettling. Once they crossed into the void, they would be completely alone. All hands, this is the captain, he announced over the ship's communication system. We're approaching the boundary. Remember, we're here to gather information and return safely. If anything goes wrong, our first priority is getting back to Earth. Dr. Amy Collins watched her instruments as they crossed the invisible line that marked the edge of the blank space. The moment they entered the void, every sensor on the ship went dead. I've lost everything, she reported, trying to keep her voice steady. Radar, gravitational sensors, electromagnetic detectors. It's all showing nothing. Sam Rodriguez was frantically adjusting his equipment. Communication with Earth is completely cut off. I'm not even getting static anymore. It's like the universe outside this place doesn't exist. Pete Anderson stared at his navigation display in confusion. Captain, this is impossible. My instruments can't tell which direction we're facing. They can't even tell if we're moving. Ryan felt a chill run through him. Are we still on course? I don't know. Without any reference points, I can't tell where we are or where we're going. It's like being blind in a room with no walls. Kate Sullivan ran diagnostics on the ship's systems. The good news is that everything inside the ship is working fine. Life support, engines, power systems. It's just that we can't see or sense anything outside. Dr. Collins was studying her useless instruments when something caught her attention. Captain, I'm noticing something strange about the crew. What do you mean? The psychological monitors are showing unusual brain activity. Everyone's pattern. Recognition centers are more active than normal, and the spatial awareness areas of the brain are lighting up like Christmas trees. Ryan felt it too, now that she mentioned it. Despite the complete darkness outside, he somehow felt like he knew which direction they were traveling. It made no sense, but the feeling was there. Pete, do you feel anything? Any sense of direction? The navigator was quiet for a moment, his eyes closed in concentration. Actually, yes. I can't explain it, but I feel like we should turn 15 degrees to the left. Based on what? I don't know. It just feels right. Ryan made a decision that went against all his training. Do it. Turn 15 degrees left. The ship changed course, and somehow everyone on the bridge felt that they were now heading in the right direction. It was impossible, but it was happening. They traveled through the darkness for 6 hours before Dr. Collins spotted something on the short-range sensors. Captain, I'm picking up a metallic object ahead. It's not giving off any energy, but it's definitely artificial. Put it on the main screen. The view screen showed a ship floating in the void. It was clearly of alien design, with the curved hull and multiple engine pods that marked it as a Centauri vessel. That's one of their exploration ships, Pete said. Quietly, looks like it's been here a long time. Any life signs? Ryan asked. Amy shook her head. Nothing. The ship appears to be completely dead. They found 2 more ships over the next few hours. A Veltar crystal ship that had lost its glow, and a Corvani bioship that looked like it had simply stopped growing. All of them were intact, but lifeless. Captain, Sam said, I'm picking up some kind of signal from the Corvani ship. It's very weak, but it might be a recording. Can you clean it up? Sam worked on the signal for several minutes before playing it through the bridge speakers. The voice was translated from the original Corvani language, but the fear in it was clear. This is Captain Velinara of the exploration vessel Growing Light. We have been in the void for 12 days. The crew is ... changing. We can sense things that are not there. We hear voices in the darkness. The Watchers are coming. They are always watching. We cannot leave. We cannot. The recording ended in static. Ryan felt every person on the bridge tense up. Watchers? What Watchers? Dr. Collins was studying the brain activity monitors again. Captain, the crew's brain patterns are still changing. We're developing abilities we've never had before. It's like this place is rewiring our minds. Is it dangerous? I don't know. But whatever happened to these other crews, we need to be careful. It doesn't happen to us. Kate Sullivan was checking the engine status. Captain, we can still leave. The engines are fine, and I think Pete can navigate us back to the boundary. Pete nodded. I can feel the way out. It's like there's a path through the darkness that leads home. Ryan looked around the bridge at his crew. They had been in the void for less than 8 hours, but already they were changing. The question was whether they should leave now while they still could, or stay and try to solve the mystery that had claimed so many other ships. Amy, how long before the changes become permanent? I don't know, Captain. But if we're going to leave, we should do it soon. Ryan made his choice. We stay. We came here to find answers, and we're not leaving until we do. The UES Frontier had been drifting through the void for 3 days when Sam Rodriguez first heard the voices. He was alone in the communication room, trying to boost the signal strength to reach Earth, when something whispered his name. Sam, he called out to the empty room. Is someone there? Only silence answered him, but he could swear he felt someone watching him from the shadows. He shook his head and went back to work, but the feeling wouldn't go away. On the bridge, Captain Ryan Blake was studying the star charts with Pete Anderson. Without their instruments, they had to rely on Pete's strange new ability to sense direction through the darkness. How far do you think we've traveled? Ryan asked. Pete closed his eyes and concentrated. Maybe 20 light years from the edge. There's something ahead of us, Captain. Something big. Another ship? No. Something else. Something that's been waiting for us. Dr. Amy Collins was in the medical bay, running tests on the crew. The changes in their brains were getting stronger. Everyone was developing abilities they had never had before. Some could sense objects in the darkness. Others could feel the emotions of their crewmates from across the ship. How are you feeling, Tom? She asked Medical Officer Tom Wilson as she checked his brain scans. Strange, he admitted. I keep seeing things that aren't there. Shapes moving in the corners of my eyes. And I can hear the ship's computer thinking. Amy frowned. The computer doesn't think. It just processes data. That's what I thought too. But I can hear it now. It's confused about where we are. It keeps trying to figure out our location, but it can't understand this place. Engineer Kate Sullivan was having her own problems. The ship's systems were running perfectly, but she could feel something wrong with the space around them. It was like the void was pressing against the hull, trying to get inside. Captain, she called over the intercom. I'm reading some strange energy patterns around the ship. Nothing dangerous, but it's like something is scanning us. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of something? I don't know. But whatever it is, it's intelligent. Sam Rodriguez was back in the communication room when the voices returned. This time, they were clearer. Sam Rodriguez, the voice said, and it seemed to come from everywhere at once. You have come far from your home. Sam's hands shook as he activated the recording device. Who are you? Where are you? We are the Primarchs. We have been waiting for your species for a very long time. Waiting for us? Why? Because you are different from the others. The Centauri came with their perfect mathematics. The Veltar came with their crystal technology. The Corvani came with their living ships. All of them tried to understand this place with their minds. Sam felt his heart racing. And humans? Humans come with something the others do not have. You come with the ability to accept what you cannot understand. The voice faded, and Sam ran to the bridge as fast as he could. He found Captain Blake, and the senior officers gathered around the main display. Captain, I made contact with something. They call themselves the Primarchs. They say they've been waiting for us. Ryan looked at the communication recording Sam had brought. Play it. The bridge fell silent as they listened to the strange conversation. When it finished, Dr. Collins was the first to speak. Captain, I think I know what happened to the other crews. They couldn't handle the changes this place makes to the mind. Their species are too rigid in their thinking. What do you mean? Look at us. We've been here 3 days, and we're adapting. We're learning to navigate without instruments. We're developing new senses. But the other species probably fought against the changes. They tried to force this place to make sense according to their old ways of thinking. Pete Anderson nodded. The Centauri always planned everything perfectly. They probably couldn't handle not knowing where they were going. And the Veltar think in mathematical patterns. This place doesn't follow any mathematics we know. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Helen Brooks came onto the bridge with a worried expression. Captain, I need to report something. 3 of the crew members have developed abilities that shouldn't be possible. Miller in engineering can see through the ship's hull. Watson in security can sense the emotional state of everyone on board. And Rodriguez can apparently communicate with beings we can't detect. Ryan felt the weight of command pressing down on him. Are they dangerous? Not to us, but they're changing fast. If this continues, they might not be fully human anymore. Sam stepped forward. Captain, the Primarchs want to talk to all of us. They say it's time for the next stage. Next stage of what? I don't know, but they're not hostile. They seem curious about us. Ryan made a decision that would change everything. All senior staff to the main conference room. If these Primarchs want to talk, we'll listen. The conference room was darker than usual, with only emergency lighting casting strange shadows on the walls. The senior staff sat around the table, waiting for something to happen. Dr. Helen Brooks was the first to see them. Shapes began to form in the darkness at the edges of the room. They weren't solid, but they weren't empty either. They were like living thoughts that had learned to take physical form. Do not fear. One of the shapes said, its voice echoing in everyone's mind at the same time. We are the Primarchs. We are the ones who shaped this place. Captain Blake found his voice. You created the void? We created it as a test. Your galaxy is full of young species who think they understand the universe. They build their ships and their technologies, and they believe they can control everything they encounter. And the test is to see if we can survive in here? No, the test is to see if you can grow. The Centauri entered this place and tried to map it with their instruments. When their instruments failed, they panicked. The Veltar tried to impose their crystal matrix technology on the void. When it didn't work, they became lost. Dr. Collins leaned forward. What makes humans different? Humans are the first species to enter this place and not try to control it. You accept the changes. You adapt. You learn to see with new eyes instead of demanding that the old eyes work. Kate Sullivan asked the question everyone was thinking. What happened to the other crews? They are not dead. They are transformed. But they fought the transformation, and it broke their minds. They exist now as part of this place, but they are no longer who they were. The Primarch's form shifted, becoming more solid. You have a choice to make, humans. You can leave this place now and return to your normal lives. Or you can stay and learn what we have to teach. But if you stay, you will be changed forever. Ryan looked around the table at his crew. They had come here to explore the unknown, but they had found something beyond their wildest imagination. What would we become? He asked. You would become the first species to master the void between realities. You would learn to travel not just through space, but through the spaces between spaces. You would become the pathfinders for your galaxy. The room fell silent as everyone considered the choice. They could go home and report their discovery, or they could stay and become something new. We need time to think, Ryan said finally. Time you have, the Primarch replied, but choose carefully. This opportunity will not come again. Captain Ryan Blake couldn't sleep. He had been lying in his quarters for hours, staring at the ceiling and thinking about the choice the Primarchs had given them. Around him, the ship felt different. He could sense his crew members even through the walls, their dreams and worries flowing through his mind like whispers down in the engineering section. Kate Sullivan was working on the engines when she felt something strange. The metal walls around her seemed to be breathing, expanding and contracting like living tissue. She put her hand against the hull and gasped. She could feel the void pressing against the ship from outside, but it wasn't trying to crush them. It was trying to welcome them. This is impossible, she whispered to herself. But then she remembered that impossible things had been happening since they entered the void. In the medical bay, Dr. Helen Brooks was checking on crew members who had reported strange dreams. Tom Wilson told her he had dreamed of flying between stars without a ship. Miller from engineering said he had seen entire worlds made of light and sound. All of them described feeling more alive than they had ever felt before. Doctor, Tom said quietly, I don't think these are dreams. I think we're seeing what's possible if we stay here. Helen nodded but didn't answer. She was having the same dreams. The next morning, if morning had any meaning in the endless darkness, the senior staff gathered in the conference room again. The Primarchs appeared almost immediately, their forms more solid than before. Have you decided? One of them asked. Captain Blake looked around the table at his officers. We have more questions first. Ask them. Dr. Amy Collins spoke up. If we stay and accept the changes, will we still be human? You will be more than human, but you will still be yourselves. The transformation enhances what you are. It does not replace who you are. Security Chief Tony Williams had been quiet during the previous meeting, but now he leaned forward. What exactly are you offering us? Power? Technology? The Primarchs. Form shifted, and suddenly the room around them changed. The walls disappeared, and they found themselves floating in a space filled with wonders beyond imagination. Planets made of crystal hung in the darkness, their surfaces glowing with inner light. Stars sang in harmonies that touched their souls. Nebulae moved like living creatures, dancing through the void in patterns of impossible beauty. We offer you knowledge, the Primarch said. The knowledge of how to travel between dimensions. How to find pathways through probability itself. How to explore not just your galaxy, but all the galaxies that exist in the spaces between spaces. Tony stared at the incredible sights around them. And all we have to do is stay here? All you have to do is accept what you are becoming. Stop fighting the changes. Let them happen. Pete Anderson, who had been navigating by instinct for days, asked the question that was bothering him most. What's the catch? This seems too good to be true. The Primarch was quiet for a long moment. The catch is that you will become responsible for something your species has never handled before. You will become the guides for other species who want to explore the unknown. You will carry the burden of helping others face their fears. The room returned to normal, and the Primarchs became less solid again. We need to discuss this as a crew, Ryan said. Of course, but remember, the choice must be unanimous. If even one of you chooses to leave, you all must leave. A transformation only works if you accept it together. After the Primarchs disappeared, the senior staff sat in silence for several minutes. Finally, Tony Williams spoke. "Captain, I think we should accept their offer. Think about what we could bring back to Earth, the technology, the knowledge. We could advance human civilization by thousands of years." Dr. Collins shook her head. "That's not what they're offering, Tony. They're not giving us technology to take home. They're offering to change us permanently. So what? We came here to explore the unknown. This is the biggest unknown any human has ever faced." Chief Medical Officer Helen Brooks looked worried. "The medical implications concern me. We don't know what these changes will do to our bodies in the long term. We could be risking our lives." Kate Sullivan had been listening quietly, but now she spoke up. "I've been feeling the changes for days now. My connection to the ship's systems is stronger than it's ever been. I can sense problems before they happen. I can feel the ship's needs like they're my own. If this is what the transformation offers, I want it." Sam Rodriguez nodded. "The communication abilities I've developed are incredible. I can sense thoughts and emotions across vast distances. We could become the best explorers humanity has ever had." Pete Anderson was torn. "I can navigate through this void without any instruments. That's amazing. But what if we can't go home? What if the changes make us too different from other humans?" Dr. Collins had been thinking about the scientific implications. "From a research standpoint, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. We could learn things about the universe that no species has ever known." Ryan looked around the table. His crew was divided, and he could feel their uncertainty through the strange connection they had all developed. "Let's hear from the entire crew," he decided. "Everyone deserves a voice in this decision." Over the next few hours, Ryan met with every crew member individually. The responses were mixed. Some were excited about the possibilities. Others were frightened of what they might become. A few just wanted to go home to their families. The most surprising conversation was with Sarah Murphy, the ship's pilot. She had been quiet during most of the mission, but when Ryan asked for her opinion, she had a lot to say. "Captain, I've been thinking about this for days. The Primarchs keep talking about us being different from other species, about us being able to adapt and accept change. But I think they're testing us for something else." "What do you mean?" "They're not just testing our ability to change. They're testing our ability to choose our own path. Think about it. They're offering us incredible power and knowledge, but they're making us choose it freely. No pressure, no force, just choice." Ryan felt something click in his mind. "You think this is about free will?" "I think this is about independence. Every other species that came here tried to impose their will on this place. We're the first ones. They've offered a choice to. Maybe the real test is whether we'll make our own decision instead of just taking what they offer." That night, Ryan called another meeting of the senior staff. This time, he had made up his mind. "I've talked to the entire crew," he announced, "and I've realized something. The Primarchs aren't testing our ability to accept their offer. They're testing our ability to choose for ourselves." Tony Williams looked confused. "What's the difference?" "The difference is that a truly independent species doesn't just accept gifts from ancient beings. They make their own path. They explore on their own terms." Dr. Collins understood immediately. "You're saying we should refuse their offer?" "I'm saying we should thank them for showing us what's possible, but tell them that humanity will find its own way to explore the unknown. We'll develop our own abilities. We'll make our own discoveries." The room was quiet as everyone considered this perspective. "But Captain," Kate said, "we might never get another chance like this." Ryan smiled. "Maybe that's the point. Maybe the real test is proving that we don't need their help to become extraordinary." When Captain Ryan Blake announced his decision to refuse the Primarch's offer, something unexpected happened. The ancient beings began to laugh. It wasn't cruel laughter, but the sound of genuine joy and approval. "Excellent," one of the Primarchs said, materializing more clearly than ever before. "You have passed the true test." Dr. Amy Collins frowned. "Test? But you offered us incredible power. We just turned it down. And that is exactly what we hoped you would do. Every other species that entered this void wanted us to give them easy answers. They wanted us to make them powerful without effort. You are the first to choose your own path." Tony Williams looked confused. So the offer wasn't real? The offer was completely real. We could have given you everything we promised. But if you had accepted, you would have become dependent on us. You would have stopped growing on your own. Kate Sullivan felt a mix of relief and disappointment. Then what happens now? Do we go home with nothing? The Primarch's form shifted, and suddenly the room around them began to change again. But this time, it wasn't showing them distant wonders. It was showing them the truth about where they were. The walls became transparent, and Dr. Collins gasped at what she saw. The void around them wasn't empty at all. It was full of layer upon layer of folded space, compressed dimensions stacked on top of each other like pages in a book. Each layer contained entire universes, galaxies, and worlds that existed in different states of reality. "This is what your instruments could not detect," the Primarch explained. "The void is not empty. It is infinitely full. It contains every possible version of reality, all existing at the same time." Pete Anderson stared at the incredible sight. "How is that possible? Your scientists understand that matter and energy can neither be created nor destroyed. But they do not yet understand that the same law applies to possibility itself. Every choice that could be made, every path that could be taken, every universe that could exist, they are all here, compressed into this space." Dr. Collins was frantically trying to understand what she was seeing. "Are you saying this is some kind of storage place for alternate realities?" "It is more than storage. It is a crossroads. From here, it is possible to travel not just to different places, but to different possibilities. Your species calls it quantum mechanics, but you have only glimpsed the surface of what is truly possible." Sam Rodriguez, who had been developing his communication abilities, suddenly understood something. "That's why our brains are changing. We're learning to perceive multiple dimensions at once." "Correct. The human mind has a unique flexibility that other species lack. When the Centauri encountered this compressed reality, their logical minds could not accept it. When the Veltar tried to process it through their crystal technology, they became lost in infinite loops of calculation. Chief Medical Officer Helen Brooks was studying the brain activity readings on her portable scanner. The crew's neural patterns are stabilizing. Whatever changes were happening to us, they're becoming permanent." The Primarch nodded. "The exposure to compressed reality has awakened abilities that were always present in human minds. You call it intuition, but it is actually the ability to perceive probability paths through quantum space." Captain Blake felt a strange certainty growing in his mind. "You're saying we can navigate through these alternate realities?" "With practice, yes. But more importantly, you can help others do the same. The galaxy is full of species who have reached the limits of their technological development. They need guides who can help them explore beyond the boundaries of normal space." Tony Williams was beginning to see the bigger picture. "So instead of giving us the power, you're showing us how to develop it ourselves, and how to teach it to others. That is the gift you have earned by choosing independence over easy answers." Kate Sullivan felt a surge of excitement as she looked at her engineering displays. The ship's engines were resonating with the compressed reality around them. "Captain, I think I can modify our propulsion system to work with these probability fields." "How?" Instead of pushing through space, we can learn to slide between the layers of reality. It would be like taking shortcuts through dimensions. Dr. Collins was taking readings of the space around them. This is incredible. If we can map these probability paths, we could travel anywhere in the galaxy in a fraction of the time it normally takes. The Primarch gestured to the layered realities surrounding them. But remember, knowledge without wisdom is dangerous. That is why we test each species that finds this place. We must be certain they will use such abilities responsibly. Pete Anderson was studying the navigation possibilities. How do we know which probability path leads where we want to go? You learn to feel the connections. Watch. The Primarch guided Pete's attention to a specific layer of compressed reality. Suddenly, Pete could sense a pathway that led back toward Earth. Not just to their Earth, but to the exact Earth they had left, in the exact time they belonged to. I can see it, Pete whispered. It's like a thread of light connecting us to home. Sam. Rodriguez was experimenting with his enhanced communication abilities. I can sense other ships in normal space. There's a Centauri patrol near the edge of the void. They're waiting for us. They are afraid, the Primarch said. They know you entered the void, and they expect you to disappear like all the others. When you emerge successfully, it will change how the galaxy sees both this place and your species. Dr. Helen Brooks was concerned about the practical implications. What about the crew members who are changing? Will they be able to function normally when we return? They will be better than normal. The abilities they have developed will remain, but they will learn to control them. Your species will become the first to master both normal space travel and probability navigation. Ryan made a decision. We're going home. But first, we need to understand exactly what we've learned here. Over the next several hours, the Primarchs taught the crew how to use their new abilities safely. Kate learned to adjust the engines to resonate with probability fields without damaging the ship. Pete learned to navigate by sensing the quantum connections between different realities. Sam learned to communicate across dimensional barriers. Dr. Collins learned to detect and analyze compressed reality fields. Most importantly, they all learned that the void wasn't an empty space or a dangerous trap. It was a training ground designed to help species evolve beyond their current limitations. There are other places like this throughout the galaxy, the Primarch revealed. Hidden spaces where reality works differently. Your species will become the guides who help others find and navigate these places. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Collins asked one final question. Why us? What makes humans so special? You are not special because you are superior. You are special because you are willing to admit you do not know everything. Other species reach a point where they believe they understand the universe completely. Humans never stop asking questions. The Primarch began to fade. That curiosity, combined with your new abilities, will make you valuable allies to every species in the galaxy. You will become the pathfinders who lead others into the unknown. Kate had finished modifying the engines. Captain, we're ready to leave whenever you give the order. Ryan looked around at his crew. They had entered the void as ordinary space. Explorers, they were leaving as something entirely new. Take us home, Pete. Let's show the galaxy what humans can really do. The journey home took only 3 hours, instead of the 3 weeks it had taken to reach the void. Pete Anderson navigated through probability paths that folded space like origami, taking shortcuts through dimensions that shouldn't have existed. The crew watched in amazement as their instruments showed impossible readings while Pete guided them by pure instinct. Approaching the boundary, Kate Sullivan announced from the engineering station. Her connection to the ship's systems was stronger than ever, and she could feel the engines humming in harmony with the strange new physics they had learned. I'm picking up signals from outside the void, Sam Rodriguez reported. Multiple ships waiting for us. Centauri, Veltar, and 3 other species. They're maintaining a safe distance. Captain Ryan Blake felt the familiar weight of normal space as they crossed back into the regular universe. The transition was smooth, but every crew member felt the loss of the enhanced perception they had experienced in the void. "All stop," Ryan ordered. "Let's see what kind of welcome committee we have." Dr. Amy Collins was studying her instruments, which were working normally again. "Captain, the ships out there are keeping their distance. They seem afraid to get too close to us." The main communication system crackled to life. "UES Frontier, this is Elder Zixtara of the Centauri Alliance. Please respond if you are able." Ryan activated the response channel. "Elder Zixtara, this is Captain Blake. We're alive and well." There was a long pause before the alien leader responded. "Captain Blake, you have been in the void for 7 days. No ship has ever returned from that place. How is this possible?" "It's a long story, Elder. We have much to discuss with the Galactic Council. The Council is already assembling. We have been monitoring your position since you disappeared. Your emergence has caused quite a stir." Dr. Helen Brooks was running medical scans on the crew. "Captain, everyone is healthy, but the brain changes are permanent. We're going to be different from other humans for the rest of our lives." Tony Williams was checking the security systems. "Different how?" "I feel normal, but also like I can sense things I couldn't before." "We can all sense things we couldn't before," Pete said from the navigation station. "I can feel the gravitational fields of every planet within 50 light years. I can sense the paths between stars like they're roads on a map." Kate nodded from engineering. "I can feel every system on this ship, and I can sense the probability fields around us. It's like the universe has more layers than it used to have." Sam was monitoring communications from the alien fleet. "Captain, they're transmitting our return to the entire galaxy. Word is spreading fast that humans successfully explored the void." 3 days later, the UES Frontier arrived at the Galactic Council station near Earth. The massive space station was busier than Ryan had ever seen it, with ships from dozens of species docked at its ports. News of humanity's success had drawn representatives from across the galaxy. The council chamber was packed when Captain Blake and his senior officers entered. Elder Zixtara sat at the head of the circular table, her 4 arms folded in what Ryan had learned was a gesture of deep concern among her people. "Captain Blake," she began, "you and your crew have accomplished something that was thought to be impossible. Please tell us what you found in the void." Ryan looked around the room at the alien faces watching him. Some showed curiosity, others showed fear, and a few showed what might have been hope. "We found teachers," he said simply. "Ancient beings called the Primarchs who have been waiting for species brave enough to learn from them." A ripple of surprised sounds went through the chamber. The Corvani delegates' many eyes blinked rapidly, which Ryan knew indicated shock. "Teachers?" Elder Zixtara asked. "What did they teach you?" Dr. Collins stepped forward. "They taught us that the void isn't empty. It's compressed reality, containing every possible universe, every potential timeline, every choice that could ever be made. And they taught us how to navigate through those possibilities," Pete added. "How to travel not just through space, but through the spaces between spaces." The Vel-Tar delegate flashed urgent colors across its crystalline surface. The translator announced, "The Vel-Tar Council demands to know how you survived when our people did not." Ryan felt the weight of responsibility as he answered, "Your people tried to control the void with technology. The Centauri tried to understand it with mathematics. The Corvani tried to grow through it with their living ships. But the void can't be controlled or understood in the old ways. It can only be experienced." "What do you mean?" Elder Zixtara asked. Kate Sullivan spoke up. "We had to let it change us. We had to accept abilities we didn't understand and trust in senses we'd never had before. Your species are too set in your ways to adapt like that. The chamber erupted in clicking, whistling, and flashing lights as the alien delegates discussed this among themselves. Finally, Elder Zixthara called for order. Captain Blake, what are the implications of this discovery for the galaxy? Ryan had been preparing for this question. The Primarchs told us there are other places like the Void throughout the galaxy. Hidden spaces where reality works differently. They want us to help other species explore these places safely. You mean humans would serve as guides for alien expeditions? That's exactly what we mean, Sam said. We've developed abilities that let us navigate probability space. We can teach others how to do it safely. The Corvani delegate spoke through its translator. And what do humans want in return for this service? Ryan smiled. Nothing. We want to explore these places ourselves, and we're willing to help others do the same. That's what humans do. We explore. Elder Zixthara was quiet for a long moment. The Centauri Alliance has been exploring space for 3,000 years. The idea that we need human guides is difficult to accept. With respect, Elder, Dr. Collins said, you've been exploring normal space for 3,000 years. This is something completely different. Over the following weeks, the implications of humanity's discovery spread throughout the galaxy. Captain Blake found himself assigned to a new position as Director of Interdimensional Exploration for Earth. Dr. Collins established the Institute for Probability Sciences, where humans and aliens could study the new physics together. Kate Sullivan led the engineering team that developed the first probability drives for other human ships. Pete Anderson became the chief instructor for the new Navigation Academy, teaching both humans and aliens how to sense paths through compressed reality. Sam Rodriguez was appointed as the primary liaison with other species interested in exploring the hidden spaces. His enhanced communication abilities made him perfectly suited for the job. The most surprising development came when Elder Zixthara herself requested to join a human expedition to another void space that had been discovered near the Centauri system. I have been exploring space for 200 years, she told Captain Blake, but I have never learned to explore my own limitations. Perhaps it is time for an old student to find new teachers. Ryan stood on the bridge of the UES Pioneer, the first ship designed specifically for interdimensional exploration. Through the viewports, he could see the edge of another void space, waiting to be explored. Are you ready, Elder? He asked the Centauri leader, who had spent months learning to trust her instincts instead of her instruments. I am ready to try. Captain, lead the way. As the Pioneer entered the new void space, Ryan smiled. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or subjects, but as the guides who helped others face their fears and discover what lay beyond the boundaries of the known universe.